r/creepyencounters. When a man tried to kidnap me. Hello everyone. Our first story is posted by Anxious Hippie Vibes. When a man tried to kidnap me. I, 22F, was 18 years old at that time. In those days, I was a party girl, going out 3 times a week and drinking a lot. That time was wild. I decided to host a party. It was my first party and I rented a space in my village. It was a cabin on location for events, very cheap for locals. I organized everything with my 18F best friend, let's call her Marie, and another friend, 18F, named Rose. We were having fun decorating and preparing the party. I was so stressed about the party was going to be lame. I decided to cope the stress with alcohol. When the party started and people arrived, I was already tipsy. I invited unrelated people I knew from middle school to high school and some friends I made at college. Even though no one knew anyone, the party was great and people were meeting each other. I had a boyfriend, 19, who was coming with his friends. We were around 30. It was late summer, so the weather was mild and most people were outside talking. I had this middle school friend, let's call her Luna, who binge drank and threw up at the entrance of the cabin. She even hurt her foot and so she had some difficulties to walk. I was at that point drunk, but I wanted to help my friend. I asked her if she wanted to be put to bed and she said yes. I took her arm and guided her to my house. I live in a small village in the countryside, so it takes less than 5 minutes to get to my house. It was super safe. I used to wander alone in the streets late at night, 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., when I had insomnias and nothing ever happened. It was pitch dark, we were the only ones outside. As we walked, we saw a white SUV, but I didn't think much of it. I came home, gave her some water and let her sleep in my room. I was alone with my sister that night. I warned her of the presence of my friend and headed back to the party. I was not walking straight, since I was so intoxicated. I saw the white SUV parked near the farm. As I continued walking, a black car stopped next to me and opened its window. I looked at the man. I still don't know what age he was. It was so dark. He said to me, "I've seen this white SUV following you for a while. It is dangerous, you should come to my car." I was drunk, but I directly felt that something was wrong. I just answered that I was okay and my friends were nearby. He insisted. He repeated to come to his car for my safety. My inner alarm went off as I was trying to walk faster and answered again that I was okay. Suddenly, I heard the car's doors opened. He was not alone. I didn't think twice, I just ran for my life. I arrived quickly to the cabin. My friends were all drunk. One of my drunk male friends was complimenting Rose. They saw me coming at them in a hurry. The male friend looked at me and started to compliment me. I told him, "Man, someone tried to abduct me." He stared at me and told me that I shouldn't have left alone, that it was not safe. The party lasted until 4 a.m. People who didn't drink took their car and left. The few others were inside the cabin and started to talk. One of my boyfriend's friends was mad on the Snapchat group because he forgot his knife at the cabin. Why did he carry a knife with him at the party? I told them about what happened and we were all spooked. After that event I stopped wandering in the village late at night, but I hosted a few other parties. I have never seen this man and his black car again. Most people keep telling me how great the party was. A couple who met at the party are still together. I still wonder to this day, what would have happened to me if I didn't react that spontaneously. In my opinion, this was a setup. One car is a threat and the other comes in to help. In the end, both having bad intentions. Our second story is posted by Maria Jane 833. Angry and unnerving coworker escalates his behavior. This happened a handful of years ago. We had a transfer come on the team from another department within the company. He was nearly completely deaf, meaning he could hear really, really loud noises but nothing else. He did quite well speaking out loud and he read lips to understand what was being said to him. No big deal, it just was an easy adjustment to make sure you faced him when talking and talked one at a time. He was a decent team member in the beginning, but after a while started making comments to me and the only another female on the team. Things like, "Why haven't you made the coffee yet?" and just other stupid old-school jokes that made fun of women. My role gave him instructions on customer requests/needs. He would often not follow the instructions and I would get calls from customers complaining. Often I had to let him know he had to go back and fix the work so it matched the original request. Afterwards he would storm into my office and yell at me as if his inability to read and follow simple instructions was my fault. I got tired of it and said, "Do your job right the first time and there wouldn't be complaints." This of course didn't go over well with him. His anger was very unnerving. I got the feeling it wasn't going to stop there. In the following weeks, he would intentionally block doorways I would be trying to go through. One time I was in the other female worker's small office and he blocked the entire doorway. He stood there and smiled this super creepy smile as if he was saying, "What are going to do about it?" I refused to touch him to try and push past him. The other lady kept looking at me like she was beyond uncomfortable too. It was like we read each other's mind and we kept having our own conversation about something work-related and ignored him. After several minutes he left. Another time I had to go to the far back of the warehouse to organize some stuff in the room. I remember going in and thinking, okay, there are 2 cameras and they can see this main hallway but not between the shelving units. I had the uneasy feeling he would come back there. Sure enough, a few minutes later he came barging in the room and came right at me. I had already been on high alert so I quickly exited the other door in the room and booked it back to where the rest of the team was. I pulled up the security cameras to see if he had a reason to be in there. Sure enough, he paced in the room for a few minutes after I bolted and then he left. He clearly had no reason to be in there that exact moment I was in there. I shared this with a male coworker friend and he said he would go back with me to any of the spaces away from the main team areas. I had to get my work done, but I didn't trust one could do it without this angry guy finding me. Anytime we would make comments about his anger or demeaning jokes, the managers would say, "Oh, maybe you didn't understand because you talked too fast. I bet it was just a misunderstanding," as if having a disability means you can't also be a disgusting person. Not too long after that, I heard from a teammate that this angry guy had grabbed the other female's upper thigh, literally right below her private area, squeezed and said, "Does this make you uncomfortable?" Then laughed. A few teammates witnessed it but didn't know what to do, as the other female worker froze up. I immediately went to HR and told them everything he had been doing to intimidate, belittle, trap and of course the sexual harassment. He was fired the next day. When they escorted him out, he yelled, "This is retaliation." HR asked me what I would make of that comment, and all I could think was it had to do with me standing my ground with him. I was so scared to see him show up unexpectedly. I told my family what he looked like, his tattoos, the car he drove, anything that would identify him since they never met him. I blocked him from every social media platform too. After he was let go, other females came forward and shared things he said or did to them too. They had told managers but they dismissed it because the guy is deaf and they didn't want to deal with any lawsuits. As much as I hate what he did to my coworker, I'm grateful it gave that final boost to get him fired. I think management 100% failed their job. They should have fired him sooner. Having a disability is not a free pass for toxic, creepy and abusive behavior. Down in the comments, LaMicola points this out. I feel I should point out that what he did to your co-worker was assault. And calling it harassment is severely downplaying it. I fear the things he would have done if you didn't have your guard up and I'm sorry you had to go through that as well as your other female co-workers. Also DevilPup55 comments with his opinion and personal experience. Geez, you did the right thing. Small town I lived in had a man, unsure of the correct terminology, mentally slow, but quite affable, not able to live on his own, so lived with mom. Active churchgoers, so well known. Anyway, worked at a grocery as greeter, had numerous complaints of inappropriate behavior with young girls, preteens. They were afraid of blowback, so even though it continued to happen, it was glossed over for years, until he was inappropriate with the wrong young girl, whose dad did not let it go. He was fired. Big deal in a small town. Folks taking up for him until the truth came out. Then it was OMG, I didn't know. Walked into my work one day and guess who was the greeter? Asked manager WTH, reply was, charges were never brought. An employee told him, he would get very close, to stay away from her, 8F, daughter. The second time, she reported he was fired. His excuse every time was he was just being friendly. Thanks for watching.